This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
There he is. It's time for James MENNIE of the Montreal Gazette. Hey, Jim.
Hey, David. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, got a bit of rain, but I'm a lot better now.
You survived. The sun is back.
Absolutely. Yes, as they say, after the rain, the good weather.
Good weather. So, with the good weather, our environment minister, Jean Charest, I think, didn't decide on his own to go to Rouyn-Noranda. I think he got a call from the premier's office say, why don't you go to Rouyn-Noranda and talk to the people and take the heat for these arsenic levels that are way too high?
I'd say that's a pretty fair assessment, but one of the fundamental rules of public relations and indeed of politics is never hold an event, or a press conference when you have nothing to say, which hasn't stopped this government from doing just that for the past 4 years. But we're talking about something a little different here.
Yeah.
And there are, opposing factors here. We're talking about a foundry that has an astoundingly high amount of arsenic in its exhaust emissions. It's 33 times higher than the provincial norm. They got a permit from the Quebec government to do that. It wasn't this government, to be fair. No. But all that said, we're talking. The extrapolation is exposure to this over the next 70 years, anywhere from 0 to 14 people will get lung cancer. And once again, that's an extrapolation. We have no idea whether that number is going to be higher or lower. Okay, that's the first thing. But the other issue here is that foundry provides 650, as Premier François Legault likes to say, well-paying jobs to the local residents. So it's a bit of a minefield, but it's a no-win situation to go up there. First of all, I think there was an omen today. Charest was supposed to go today. Yeah. Apparently, the plane broke down, so he's going to Mall. Which is fine, but he says he's going to talk to the local actors. Well, as far as I can tell, that's the local health authority, the foundry itself, and a lot of people who are very, very, very angry to have discovered this particular situation quite literally in their backyards. But once again, it's like a no-win situation for the government, and it'll be interesting to see how Benoit Charest spins this. I know he's the Minister of the Environment, but he's also the same Minister of the Environment who said, even though environmental impact reports were saying there isn't really a need for a third link between Quebec City and Lévis, he basically said, well, it doesn't matter what the reports say, this is going to happen. So, God help the Western Chorus bullfrog, but with this guy in charge. But once again, we're talking about a demonstrable threat to human life. We're also talking about a lot of political considerations. This is not a black and white story. Certainly, this is not a pop-up foundry. It's been there for more than 100 years.
Yeah.
But once again, we live in an age where we can find out a lot more about a great many things far more quickly, unless, of course, you're with Rogers. And you also have to consider what the quote of the day will be. I hope that, and I think your suspicion is correct, I hope that before François Legault essentially said, you're going up to Rouyn-Noranda, he put a prepared statement, a written statement, folded it in four and put it in his coat because, listen, if he comes up there and just repeats the same stuff the government's been saying for the past 2 weeks, I don't think things are going to go very well.
Well, I am afraid you're right I'm afraid that's going to happen because if it were a massive investment, it wouldn't be Benoit Charest announcing it. Because right now, this is a Quebec Solidaire seat. And up until this story broke a few weeks ago, originally about Dr. Arruda, maybe a month ago, this was a seat that was targeted by the CAQ. So if it was about money, you'd see Pierre Fitzgibbon or even the premier go there. If Benoit Charest, and I was environment minister, and on this one, I got to say, and you're right to say, that there were environmental authorizations going back several governments, including the one I was part of, but we always base these environmental authorizations on the public health standard.
Yeah.
So if public health said that's the standard, that's what the environmental ministry would say, okay, this is what you're allowed to do. And so I don't get why maybe a Christian Dubé isn't showing up there, or why there isn't more being done than just sending the environment minister, because honestly, I don't know what he can say.
Yeah, I got to tell you that I'm glad to hear you say that in terms about public health, because the same conversation has been going on in this chapter of the saga. Public health is saying, well, you got to talk to the. In fact, it was Dr. Luc Boileau, the director, saying you got to talk to the Environment Ministry, and the Environment Ministry says, whoa, you got to wait.
Whoa, wait a minute, exactly. Because
so
that's the thing. I remember I was lobbied by these people, and I remember. But the fact is, I would say I can't touch these levels that are in your authorization, because those are set by public health.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be very interesting. And also what's going to be interesting is how, and no matter what happens tomorrow with Monsieur Charest, remember, it was just a week ago that François Legault said, well, he's ready to shut down the plant. Right? And suddenly that, and then I think within 48 hours, when the plant manager said, well, it's going to cost about $500 million to retool this place to get the levels down. And all of a sudden, we will need government help with that. And here's François Legault saying, well, we'll see, but, it'll have to be, for the benefit of the community. I think they, as you say, it was a targeted writing. I think they misread this. And honestly, by the end of this week, you and I might be talking about yet another version of the government's approach to dealing with this particular issue. It's very local, yes. Yep. It's also very, very political. So it's going to be interesting to see how
and an Indigenous First Nation. Let's not forget Long Point.
Oh, yes,
which is
absolutely.
Right there, too. So there's an Indigenous component. We talked to the chief yesterday. So there's a lot of angles to this. So we'll definitely be talking about this in the next few days. Moving on to Patrick Brown. So the co-chairman of his campaign moving to Jean Charest's camp.
Yeah, exactly. John Reynolds, former Conservative MP, co-chair of Brown's campaign, described Jean Charest as a unifier. We need him. Backhanded swipe at Pierre Poilievre. We can't have untested leaders dealing with major issues. But what I find interesting is the clock is ticking on all of this. I know that Patrick Brown has hired a very, very exceptional legal talent in the form of Mary Heinen. But once again, the Conservative committee for this leadership campaign is, well, we have to talk to a lawyer first and see if we actually have the competence to hear this particular appeal of his disqualification. I think in the end, this is going to turn this campaign, which is, I think, on the verge of being turned into pretty much a done deal for Pierre Poilievre. It's going to turn on when Patrick Brown turns around and gives his endorsement to Jean Charest.
Right.
All his sign-ups, if he's not going to be in it, a lot of people are saying, well, if he's not in it, they're simply not going to vote. Well, that may be true. On the other hand, if Patrick Brown gives that endorsement, if he sits down with Charest, and we both know, our listeners know, these guys are pretty tight. They've known each other for years. Brown describes Charest as his mentor. If they come to some kind of agreement that some of the promises made by Brown that weren't necessarily made by Charest suddenly become a part of Charest's, agenda.
Platform, yeah.
That's the thing.
On immigration, for example.
But if I was, honestly though, if I was a card-carrying conservative right now, at least outside of Alberta, I would have a very bad taste in my mouth over this entire thing. This does not look right. It doesn't feel right. It's the kind of acrimonious, underhanded, petty, sniping approach that I'm sorry to say has become a hallmark of the Conservative Party, and one of the reasons why it's going to remain in opposition for the foreseeable, future and maybe long-term future, unless it changes. So once again, we're going to see how that's going to unfold. But honestly, I think now the bottom line, it's up to Patrick Brown. Do you want to fight this, or do you want to fight in another way? Do you want to, move your artillery to another side and just support Charest and let's have at it?
And on top of that, he has just a few weeks to decide if he's going to run again as mayor of Brampton.
I think he's got middle of August.
Middle of August, yeah.
Yeah, that's so yeah, a lot of factors in play here, but also in no, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say what this leadership contest will determine will be the shape of politics in this country for the next decade at least.
At least.
Because if Pierre Poilievre becomes leader of the Conservative Party and he runs to be prime minister and he runs a national campaign the way he's run this leadership campaign, I don't think the Tories have a hope in hell of forming a government. It's as simple as that. And it depends what you want. Do you want to maintain your echo chamber? You want to have everyone telling you how right you are? Or do you want to actually change the country, take charge? You're going to have to make a choice.
That's the time we have for today. Always a pleasure, sir.
Adamant.